This is a lecture from OpenTuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
So before we go through and do a big question to finish off, let's just go through and remind ourselves of the adjustments that you're likely to see within a group statement of profit or loss question. The good news is that there are nowhere near as many adjustments, complications as what you've seen on the group statement of financial position. So, what have we got? There's two bits and they're very closely linked. The first one is any intra-group sales. Okay. So we'll focus on the sales for the time being. I think that's the easiest one to do. What we need to do there is we need to remove the income. So therefore you are debiting your income. So if it's sales, we are debiting the sales and we remove the expense. So we credit cost of sales. Okay. Why? Well, that's what we did in financial accounting. But if we just go back there and recap what we've done previously with my scribble down example. Let's just say there that we have a subsidiary and we have a parent. And the subsidiary goes through there and buys goods at, is it 10? Okay. S then goes through there and sells, shall we say, at 30. And then P goes through there and sells them outside of the group at 60. Okay. If we go through there and look at the consolidation, so revenue and costs, then P has, is it revenue of 60 on costs of 30, so giving me a profit of 30. S has revenue of 30 on costs of 10, give me a profit of 20. Leave yourself a column between S and the group's results, because if you go through now and consolidate, so add across 100% of P and 100% of S, don't write this down just yet. We have 90 and 40 and a group profit of 50. Now if we go back to the single entity concept, okay, so you've got the P group, then the group has gone through and bought it for 10, sold it for 60, so there's a profit in the group of 50. So we're happy with that, aren't we? But if you look at the revenue, not 90, and the revenue 60 to the group. Look at the cost. The costs aren't 40. It's 10, isn't it? Okay, so we're materially right with the profit, but we're not materially right on a line-by-line basis for the revenue and the costs, are we? So we need to do something about it. What do we need to do? Well, it all comes down, the differences that we have are there, aren't they? Really, what we want is we want to have not revenue of 90, we want to have, is it there, revenue of 60. We don't want revenue of 90, we don't want costs of 40. We want the costs to be 10. Still gives us the same profit. So what we've got there is within the adjustments column, we reduce the revenue by 30 and we reduce the costs by 30, which is effectively the intra-company sales. So the adjustment that you make all the time is if there is a sale of goods between the two companies within the group, you adjust for those intra-company sales, and you will adjust for them 100%. Any sales that have taken place since we have been a group, so the parent has had control of the subsidiary during that year, you eliminate all of the intra-company sales. Okay? You don't have to demonstrate that. You don't have to prove it. It's just me explaining it to you. So that's going through there and looking at the intra-company sales. The same process works on debentures, management charges. So if you're looking there at your interest, so maybe there's an intra-company loan. On the statement of financial position, you would remove the asset and the liability, because it's just money that is lent between the group companies. There's no money due or payable outside of the group. So the same applies with the interest. So you would go through there and debit your interest income, thus reducing the interest income, and you would then credit your finance costs, again reducing the finance costs. So what you can then go through and see, if you go back a few pages within your notes, these adjustments that you've got now are here. You can see there the adjustment for the intra-company sales, reducing revenue and reducing costs. And here you have, is it the intra-company interest, reducing the finance cost and reducing the investment income on a line by line basis. Okay. I'm not too worried about management charges. I can't really remember many management charges appearing. Can't really remember all that many intra-company loans appearing. It's normally, well, nearly always sales and cost of sales that will be adjusted. Okay. What you've then got in terms of your unrealised profits, remember what we had there on the SFP when we were adjusting for those unrealised profits on goods that were unsold at the end of the year, is that we debited the retained earnings and we credited the inventory, didn't we? So here what we've got is the credit to the inventory is what's done on the SFP. Okay. Here what we're going to go through and do is we can be a little bit more specific, can't we, in terms of where that adjustment is made. So in profit or loss, it's going to be in cost of sales. We're going to make the adjustment to reduce the profit by increasing the cost of sales by that provision for unrealised profits, and it will be made in the seller's column. So again, if we go back within the notes, you can see there you have that provision for unrealised profit. It's in brackets as it is increasing the cost of sales, and the cost of sales is a bracketed figure, and it will either be in the parent's column if the parent is the seller, or the subsidiaries column if S is the seller. If S is the seller, we make the adjustment in S's column, and that will obviously then feed down into S's profits and therefore into the non-controlling interest. So what we have there are two adjustments that are very, very, very commonly seen in any group statement of profit or loss question. Don't forget, on top of those, you've also got the adjustments for goodwill impairments. And making sure you adjust the correct column depending upon whether the goodwill is measured at the fair value of the NCI or the proportionate share of the proportionate share of net assets method. And then you've also got to adjust for the dividend income that's been recorded by the parent that is received from the subsidiary. So all of a sudden, you've got that big diagram or big pro forma there, and we've gone through and explained pretty much most of the adjustments. The only extra one that you've got to go through there and consider is then the depreciation. Okay. Remember when we were working the net assets working in working 2, if there was a fair value uplift on the asset, there was then some additional depreciation. The additional depreciation that we have here is just for the year only, and that will go through S's column because it is an asset of the subsidiary. So the extra depreciation should be charged in S's books. Remember, it's just for the year. Now, if we've bought the subsidiary partway through the year, again, that will need to be prorated. So again, you need to read the question very, very, very carefully. Now, that all looks very complex, doesn't it? And there's a lot going on. But it does make any group statement of profit or loss question that little bit easier. So let's go through, work through an example to make sure that we're happy with how this pro forma works in full.